Monitors warned of unsafe practices at the Orleans Parish Jail more than a year before those 10 dangerous inmates escaped early Friday morning. Their report to a U.S. district judge shows Sheriff Susan Hudson's administration regressing in compliance with a federal consent decree. Maddie Kurth reports.
Over the weekend, hundreds of police officers, state troopers, U.S. Marshals, and other federal agents combed New Orleans streets and beyond.
This is a manhunt that we haven't seen in the city of New Orleans in I can't remember when.
They're hunting for the Orleans Parish inmates still at large after a brazen jailbreak early Friday morning.
That is mission number one.
At the same time, some jail staffers are under investigation to determine if they were complicit or merely neglectful as the escape took place.
You can't just explain this on the lack of staffing.
3 sheriff's office employees have been suspended without pay. Rafael Goyeneche says he sees red flags across the jailbreak timeline: inmate overcrowding, mandatory headcounts not being done, and what Goyeneche describes as misaligned priorities in the administration. When Sheriff Susan Hudson took office in May 2022, she inherited a 10-year-old consent decree. Goyeneche says she's still struggling to reach substantial compliance in many areas.
Over the last 4 years, the sheriff's office has actually regressed with respect to their compliance. The monitors, if they're not here, they're en route here, and they will be doing their own due diligence to determine how this occurred.
Federal monitors tasked with assessing jail operations for U.S. District Judge Lance Afric sounded several warnings last year of deficiencies that were exploited in the mass escape. They said jail staffers routinely left inmates unsupervised, often for 2 or more hours. Deputies were questioned on supervision policies and were found, quote, incapable of describing what an acceptable security check would be like.
You need to make sure that you don't put offenders that pose this type of security risk in a position where they can take advantage of the lack of staffing that you have.
The monitors say all of the jail's 24 housing units require direct supervision under the consent decree, but that OPSO has taken the position that OPSO gets to determine which housing posts are mandatory and routinely does not assign mandatory staff to each housing unit. They also strongly urged Hudson to reestablish a high security unit for its most dangerous inmates. Advice, Goyeneche says, apparently was ignored.
These people are facing decades to life in prison. So this is a matter of life or death for these inmates.
In New Orleans, Maddie Kurth, Fox 8 Local First.